Hello, and welcome to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the injury market's top program for doctors, lawyers, and insurers who want to gain greater insight on how to improve patient recovery results and deliver better services in the U.S. injury market. Please welcome your host, Dr. Jeffrey Allen Kronk.
Okay, doctors, what I want to talk about today is what is an ideal first visit experience for an injury patient, right? An injury patient was injured in an auto accident. They injured their neck. They feel really horrible. They don't feel good. They feel sore. They're not sure what's happening. They've made a choice to treat with you. They've looked at other decisions. They're not sure. They've asked their friends or family who they think they should treat with. They're not sure. They went to the emergency room. They didn't get a lot of information. They're not sure why they're still continuing to have these symptoms. They may even have some different symptoms that they're not certain of. Maybe they got some ringing in their ears. Maybe they have some tinnitus. Maybe they have some dizziness. Maybe they have some visual disturbances. Maybe they have some things where they don't feel like they're thinking as well as they normally do, or they're slow, or they're sore. It doesn't matter. They have all these different symptoms, and they have different concerns, right? And one of the concerns is, are they in the right place when they come in, especially if they're new to your business, they're new to your service. So that first day is a very important day. That's why in the Smart Injury Doctors program, we say choreograph that day. Make sure all of your staff know exactly what's going on with that day, because in that day, the patient is going to come in and they're going to handle initial paperwork. They're going to handle initial insurance information, attorney information, whatever they have. All that's going to be handled. If you promote it right and you prep it right, that's going to be handled on day one. And you want to get that out of the way. You want to get all of that out of the way. But right from day one is, do they feel like they're in the right place? So in day one, they're going to finish up their paperwork. They're going to go into a consult. And the questions that you ask and the way you handle your consult, the way you handle your exam, the way you handle your x-ray, the way you handle your x-ray referrals, if you don't have an x-ray machine in your own private practice, and what do you say to them makes all the difference in the world. Remember, you're setting a relationship in that day one that I hope for you and for the patient, especially if you're a good treatment center, that is a relationship that'll last for the rest of their life. When I was in private practice, I looked at each patient as they were my patients. I was going to be their chiropractor for the rest of until they expire or I retire. So I look at it long term. I look at the fact that, and I heavily promote that you do the same. When you're treating somebody, you're not just treating them. You're treating their family. You're treating their husband. You're treating their wife. You're treating their girlfriend. You're treating their kids, you're treating their parents, you're treating everybody that's attached to that person, their employer. So if they don't get great results with your clinic, it affects them for the rest of their life, but it also affects the people around them for the rest of your life, for the rest of their life. So, it's very important to take that all into consideration. So in that consult, they're getting their very first impression of you. Right? They've heard of you. They looked at you. They looked at you up online. They looked at your LinkedIn profile. People study today. They look to see if you have any YouTube videos or if you've got anything out there. They see if they've got any patient testimonies. They've looked you over, but this is their first experience with you now, with you as the doctor. And so it's a very important first contact. How you are. Are you likable? Are you comfortable? Are you straight? Are you to the point? Are you, nobody cares about a doctor. If you're going into a surgeon, nobody cares about the surgeon that's unsteady. Hey, what do you think? Hey, let me give you some options. What do you think, patient? People like people who are certain, definite, and comfortable and really appear to know what they're doing. So after you've done the consult, right, you've taken the specifics of the injury, you've taken all the symptoms, you've targeted all, you've documented all of that, every single one of them. You've documented how, what effect the injury is having on them right now. You've documented, is this all due to the injury? Is there any pre-existing condition information that you need to be aware of? You've documented that. Was there any gap in treatment? Was there any gap in getting to a doctor? You've documented all that. Right? Now you're taking them into a exam. And when you're taking them into that exam, your orientation and your information is got to be concise. What you're saying to the patient, when your staff is saying to the patient, has got to be the same. If a patient asks you a question, they should be able to ask the same question of your staff and get the same answer, right? So what is it that you're looking for in a spinal injury patient, right? If the spine is injured, there's only two parts to a spine. There's connective tissue damage and there's bone, or there's both. So there's bone and connective tissue. That's what a spine is. Those are the component parts of the spine. So if you damage the spine, you better know how to work up ligament injuries. You better know how to work up disc injuries. And they're different. They're highly different. They're treated differently. They have different symptoms associated with them. They're imaged differently. So they're worked up differently, right? So you know that. You're going to go in. You're going to do an exam. What do you find? What are you looking for in your exam? You're looking at functional deficits, right? Oh, they have range of motion problem, right? They have a strength problem. They have a sensory problem. They have a reflex problem, right? They have a muscle tension problem. They have muscle spasms. So you're going to do your examination procedures, but while you're doing your examination procedures, what are you saying to the patient? What are you talking about? Right? Are you relating your examination findings to that condition and how this shows that, yes, on a more problem than not basis, this is what's causing the problem? Because remember, it's only, if you don't think they fractured, it's connective tissue. It's connective tissue damage. It's the most debilitating damage the spine can have. Most expensive injuries in the market today. But how are you handling that patient on it? When you're taking them down to x-ray them, what are you talking about? Right? Because what you should be talking about is you're about to take a series of x-rays called stress x-rays, and it's going to help you to determine any ligament damage. Now, it also is going to help you to determine if there's a possibility or probability of disc herniation. What's that based off of? Well, that's based off of research that says, hey, if there's translations in extension and there's posterior translations, especially C4, C5, C5, C6, there's a high probability that there also could be a disc injury there. Remember, when a person has a shear force and a compressive injury in an auto accident, it's not a smart bomb of energy. It's like, this is what makes it radically wild in the personal injury market, because apparently the attorneys in the market and a lot of doctors in the market now as well, because they've gotten infected with this idea from attorneys that everything's just a disc herniations, and somehow there's a smart bomb of energy that just hits the disc, doesn't hit any tissue around the disc. I mean, what's the tissue around the disc that keeps the disc in alignment? The ligaments. How many of them are there? 9. Anterior, posterior longitudinal ligament, 2 capsulars, 2 intertransverse, ligamentum flavum, interspinous ligament, supraspinous ligament. There's 9 ligaments, right? And they have a very specific job, and the job is to keep all of the parts in alignment as they are functionally utilized. So if the ligaments are damaged, that goes away, and it causes an instability, and it causes a lot of symptoms. The majority of symptoms that a patient have are probably caused by those symptoms. They're not caused by a disc. When a patient has headaches, you've got to look upper cervical. It's an upper cervical cranial cervical instability. Cervical, C1, C2 instability. Cranial cervical junction instability. That's what you're looking at, right? Or you're looking at the C2, C3, right? Greater and lesser occipital nerves. That's what you're looking at. I mean, just the information I'm giving you right there, you could build the largest headache clinic in the world, because that's what headache patients have. That's what's causing it. That's the basic thing that they have that goes undiagnosed. But in an injury patient, that stuff should never go undiagnosed. And you know that. Now, in that day one visit, that consult, that exam, those x-rays, what you do, first treatment, not treatment, that should all be choreographed. What I mean by choreographed, it's not like a dancer thing. Everybody in the clinic should know what's going on with that person so they can assist them right along. Right? That first day, you should have materials ready for them in the clinic to take home and read about their condition. and to read about what makes you unique so they even feel more secure about what they're receiving. Doctors, if you don't take this, what I'm just saying, seriously, then what you're into is working harder. What I mean by that is the more that you take this day one and make this a really good experience for the patient, the better your compliance is going to be, the better your referrals are going to be, the better your long-term relationships are going to be, the better that you're going to have patients introducing their attorneys to you, the better that you're going to have patients introducing their medical doctors to you, right? And what is it all based off? It's based off the experience that you're creating for the patient, right? I'm going to tell you in our program, on day 2, that patient would start receiving an automated email sequence. Over the next 70 days, it's going to basically continue to educate them on their injury, what makes you unique, and what they themselves can do to help in their own situation. So, for the longest time in my private practice, I didn't think about any of this stuff. And once I did start thinking about it, man, did it make a difference. And it doesn't take that much time to do. In other words, what I'm saying is once you have it really strongly in and you have everybody on the same page, it stays in. It doesn't go out. So it's something that lasts for the rest of your career. This is not something you just do and it's kind of on a whim. This is something that's done, and once it's done, you keep it done. You keep doing it so that patients have a kind of a wow experience. You want that patient to have an experience where when they leave your clinic, they go, wow, that was highly professional and very competent. And everybody was so friendly and so helpful. And I feel really good about the decision that I just made to be treating with this doctor. That's the experience that you want to go for. That's the thing that will help you grow. That's the thing that will help you long term. Once you're doing it, it pays huge dividends for the rest of your career. Now, let's say that you have to switch a staff member out. Big deal. Once you have it in, that other staff members train that member on what you're doing. It's very simple. It's simple to keep it in. It's not. Most doctors don't ever take the time to really figure out, okay, is everybody in our clinic on the same page with our day 1 procedure, let alone day 2 procedures, report of finding procedures, or days where you're actually going, okay, I'm now giving the patient, imaging, either the MRI imaging came in or excessive motion testing imaging came in, and I'm now explaining to the patient about that. That's a huge day for the patient, and it's a huge day for your clinic, right? Because it's a huge referral day. All of these days, as you're choreographing, in our program, I teach you things that you're saying that are going to generate referrals. All of these things will generate referrals, so you, the doctor, don't have to work so hard. See, you're already working really hard. You're the one in the rooms. You're the one that's actually solving the problems for the patient. So you should have to work less, but you have to be more specific. You have to get more out of the time that you're there. So what I mean by that is you need to do procedures that will get you more referrals while you're there. So you don't have to spend your off hours trying to, generate new business into your clinic. These steps, especially that day 1, it's one of the most important visits the patient's going to have. So I highly recommend that you really choreograph it. You really get it down so everybody knows and everybody's on the same page. But I also really recommend that you have patient materials that explain to the patient about the injuries, explain what they can do to assist in their own recovery, and also explain the fact that these injuries cause chronic situations, and anyone that they know that has a chronic situation probably has this condition and it's been undiagnosed. That leads to referrals. So the whole key here is to make your job less difficult, not more difficult. Doctors, on these podcasts, I just take a topic, riff on it a little bit. Hopefully it helps you. It gets you to think about something, maybe look at something a little differently, and is helpful to you. If you have interest in our program, call us at 800-940-6513. Look us up on the web, smartinjurydoctors.com. We also have an area on Facebook called the Smart Injury Doctors Practice Building Success Network, where I put out all kinds of free information about our programs. So, doctors, I hope it's helped, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next podcast.
You've been listening to the Smart Injury Doctors Podcast, the #1 audio production show for professionals in the U.S. injury market that want to deliver better injury services to the patients, clients, or insureds they serve. If you like what you heard today, please leave us a review and don't forget to join us on our next program.